Welcome to part 2 of 6.1. So we just learned that if it's y equals x squared, we open up. If it's y equals negative x squared, we open down. If it's x equals y squared, then that means you open to the right. And if it's x equals negative y squared, the parabola opens to the left. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph a few just to get some practice at it. Now, notice that these are all going to be like the types you're familiar with, where it's y equals x squared. So let's graph them and see how to do it. So the first one is y minus 3 equals x minus 4 squared. So it's important that you recognize this is a parabola, because we're going to see some other equations that are kind of similar to these. And the reason it's a parabola is because only one term is being squared. Only x is being squared, not both of them. Okay, so that tells you it's a parabola, or as opposed to, say, a line like y equals mx plus b. So as a reminder, remember in the previous video, I said if the y value, the minus 3, is over here, you need to flip this sign as well. So the vertex is 4, comma 3. So let me actually write that down. The vertex is going to be 4, comma 3. Flip both signs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There's our first point. Now, this is just a regular parabola. It's y equals x squared, so it's going to open up or down. And because this is positive, like there's a plus in front of the parenthesis there, that means it's going to open up. So from the vertex, you go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, then over 2, up 4 from the vertex, and then over 3, up 9, which will be up a little bit. Okay, so there's your parabola. So it's not that hard to graph if you remember the 1, 4, 9 pattern. Okay, with a vertex of 4, comma 3. And that's it. Let's graph this one. Y equals 2 times x plus 3 quantities squared. Well, the first thing to do here is to notice we have a number right here. And first let's find the vertex. So we flip the sign for x. So the vertex is going to be negative 3. Now, do you see how there's no value over here for y? That means we're not going to have any up or down movement of our vertex. And so in other words, it's like y plus 0. So the vertex is negative 3, comma 0. So here's the vertex right here at negative 3, comma 0. Now, we see that this 2 is positive, and it's y equals x being squared. That means it's going to be opening up, like the previous one. So how does this 2 take effect? Well, if the number's being multiplied, remember how we had that 1, 4, 9 pattern and 1, 4, 9 pattern? Basically, you just take all those numbers and multiply whatever is out in front. So instead of 1, 4, 9, it's 2, 8, 18. And that's it. And on the other side, 4 times 2 is 8. And 9 times 2 is 18. So you just take the same 1, 4, 9 pattern, except now it's 2, 8, 18, because they're all multiplied by 2. That's going to make our parabola get steeper, which makes sense because this 2 means y is getting bigger faster, so that makes the parabola get steeper. So from the vertex, it's over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, then over 2 all the way up 8, and over 2 all the way up 8. And you can see that this parabola is going to be slightly tighter, slightly more narrow than the other one we did, which was opening up a bit more. And that's it. Let's do this last one. Y equals negative a half x minus 3 quantities squared. There's a lot going on here. The first thing to do is to find the vertex. So once again, we flipped the sign for x, so that's going to be 3, comma, and once again, we don't have any number over here for y, so that's just going to be 3, comma 0. So let's do that over 1, 2, 3, and 0. Now, notice this time it's y equals x squared, so it's either going to open up or down, and there's a negative here out in front, so that means we're opening down. So let's do that. So now here's the half. So instead of down 1, down 4, down 9, just like with the 2, we divide all of these in half this time. So you divide them all by 2. So instead of down 1, it's down a half. Instead of down 4, it's 4 divided by 2, it's down 2. And instead of down 9, it's 9 over 2, which is 9 and a half, 9 halves I mean, or 4.5. So you just take the 1, 4, 9 pattern again, and this time you divide them all. You multiply them all by a half, which is the same as dividing by 2. So we go over 1, down a half, over 1, down a half, again down because it's negative, over 2, down 4, over 2, down 4, and over 3. Oops, I'm sorry, that's a mistake. See, you see how it's easy to make a mistake? I still have the 1, 4, 9 pattern in my head. It's over 1, down a half, over 2, down 2, and over 2, down 2, and then over 3, down 4 and a half, and over 3, down 4 and a half. So you notice that this parabola is a little bit wider than a regular parabola. So if you multiply it by a number larger than 1, it makes the parabola more narrow. And if you multiply it by a fraction, it makes the parabola wider because it takes longer for y to get bigger if you're multiplying it by a fraction. Okay, so that's how to graph the ones that you're hopefully already kind of familiar with. So how are we going to graph the vertex, the focus, and the directrix? Well, here's the general form. And so the first thing you want to do is notice that we want to put the squared term on the left, okay, just to make it easier to read. The vertex is still the same that you're used to, h and k or k and h. Remember, x goes with h, y with k, and that's just left and right or up and down to find your vertex. So the first thing we're going to do is graph that vertex. And then the way you calculate p is by looking at the number that's multiplying the term that's not being squared. Okay? So here's the steps to do this. Step 1 is determine if it's opening up and down or left and right. It's opening up or down if x is being squared, like the ones we did up here. If the x part's being squared, it's opening up or down. If the y part's being squared, it's opening left or right. So first do that, then graph the vertex, boop, and then we're going to figure out what this p is. And the p is going to tell us how far it is to the focus and how far it is to the directrix. So what I think I'll do is I'll explain this, I think, in the next video. And so I will see you and we'll look at a few examples. It's not that bad, it's just kind of weird at first, but you'll get the hang of it. So I'll see you over in part 3.